Exactly. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Evolved Dad Shortcast. Today we're doing a dad chat with Gonzalo, someone that I've been in touch with for quite some time on X, someone who's inspired me to focus on storytelling, taught me a lot about it. We've had some really in-depth conversations. So we're here to chat today. Gonna have him introduce himself a little bit and then kick back, grab a snack, a drink, and just enjoy. So, you want to introduce yourself quickly, Gonzalo?
Hey,
Let everyone know who you
Jonathan.
are.
Uh, well, my name is Gonzalo. You can call me Gonz, just not Gonzo or Gonzalez. I mean, yeah, like here I'm like, and my presence here, I guess the first thing I say is I'm a writer. By trade, I'm more into audio visual like production editing stuff, but what I've realistically been doing most of the time since I've graduated has been English teaching. Like I kind of fell into English teaching, but the thing that I see myself the most as is really a writer, storyteller, and then outside of professionally speaking, a dad, husband. I got two kids, and just chugging along, trying to get books out, trying to get stories out, trying to do that stuff, and while juggling um, all the other stuff that life throws at us.
Nice. Sounds like a dad. Good.
Sounds. Is that you're like, yeah, sounds about right.
So, what is that like? Do you feel that what you do as far as storytelling and all the other stuff you have as like your passion projects, I guess we'd say, does that translate over to your kids at all? Like your kids have an idea, they get involved? Do they get excited for that? Just curious.
It's funny because a couple of years ago, when I was in the middle of well, because of the pandemic, I started um, drawing workshop for kids online. It started out
Cool.
as this free thing that I wanted to do just to help out some families that were struggling like us, and were like the kids running around the house, not being able to go outside. So I had this thing. So I started it, and it turned into a business. It turned into a paid thing, and I was always doing it. Right? And my kids always wanted to like get in on the class. They would like log into the Zoom account from the other room, and they'd be like one of the students. But then later on, it started to wear off, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Dad's
Right.
doing his class." Um, so they kind of started losing interest, especially my oldest. And I thought for a moment that he might be interested in in really learning how to draw and going
Right.
down that route. But then he was like, "Nah," just kind of left it there because I guess once it becomes the thing that Dad does, sometimes it becomes a passion because of that, and sometimes it
Right.
becomes you know.
Right.
And since I've been focusing hard on Salvador, actually it's my oldest, who really likes to read, has been really like invested in how the story's coming along, and I can't
Right.
remember if it was last year or about a year and a half ago. He made this little mini comic, or with like this mini kind of illustration of something similar to what he saw me doing one day,
Right.
and it was like Salvador's face with like the robot parts really angry looking, and put
That's
Salvador
awesome.
on the top. It was like, and he showed me, and he's like, this is how I'd like it to come out. Like, oh, it's so cute, I love it. It was really touching and motivating. And then when I brought out the first chapter on Substack, I was like, here, read this, because he's 11, he can
Right.
he can take it. And um and he just ran through it. Just ran through it. He's like, that it was awesome. Where's chapter two? I'm like, about that. You gotta wait, like everybody else. Haven't written it
That's
yet.
amazing.
I'm still
That's really
writing it.
cool.
Yeah, so
So
it
yes.
it it does. It is and it isn't. It inspires and affects them, and then sometimes it just doesn't.
Right. That's
The,
pretty
what,
cool.
what does that happen? Like, how does that affect? What about you? Like on your side for you, because you got five kids, I think, right? Five. We were
Yeah.
joking the other day about it was like, what is it, up to like 27 kids now? I was like, no, he's got.
Yeah,
So how does it?
that's the Twitter Spaces joke.
Yeah. So what like how does it affect you and your kids? Like if dad's doing his podcast, no, don't knock on the door. Or how is it for
So
you?
they've actually asked to listen to the podcast in the past. Uh, they get excited when it goes on. I don't know that they really have an interest in it. I think it's more of just an excitement that I have a podcast. That's the excitement for them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because for my regular job I do IT. And when it comes to anything technology wise, for the most part, they sort of just lean into the fact of like, here, how do you fix like can you fix this? Keep like this, that, the other. It's just like boom, 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 boom. It's
Free
like,
IT
guys,
service. Yeah. Yeah.
try to
Free.
figure it out yourselves. Like,
Yeah.
don't just leave it up to me. It's not impossible to learn. It may take you some time, but like now's the time when you learn it. Don't wait till for 20 years from now and I don't know how to fix this. So some of my kids have more of a knack than others. But yeah, I haven't done much as far as like involving them with the podcast. Now I think it's more of just okay, I have that I have a podcast. That's really it. Like I don't really want it to become somewhat of like a center stage for them. It's sort of like it's a passion project for me. So I don't want it to become something where it's like, "Oh, you have a podcast." And I've been doing it for almost 2 years. So it sort of just became a reality. But I did want to swing back to the whole concept before what you were talking about how you're writing Salvador. Um, I don't know if you remember, it was probably a year and a half ago, where we started talking about writing a book and storytelling and everything. So I never got to put out to write a full book for them, but I
Right.
did use AI with some prompting and whatever and going through putting together a storyline. And I did put together a few small books, and they were so excited about that. So excited. I printed it out in booklet format, folded it up, and
Nice.
I think I did 2 or 3 of those. And even my 14-year-old, well, he's 14 now, maybe like 12, 13 at that point, read it just out of pure excitement. Like those little things. It wasn't anything massive. It wasn't a chapter book. It was a short thing about, I think one was about maybe going to school, one was going on a trip. I don't even remember the exact details, but it was more of an excitement. And it was very interesting to me. I was thinking, like, it's not really what exactly we're doing for them, it's that we're doing something that we're giving to them.
Interesting. Because Nick, I heard you mention Nick Bebo in your previous podcast, and
Yeah,
you mentioned Nick Bebo. He has kind of the same idea, right? But it's I think it feels like it's kind of the same thing, right? Something he's doing for his daughters and something
right,
that he's going to be giving to his daughter. So like the book is what he's going to be giving to them, I think. And
right,
the act of writing all of this is something that he's doing for them, right?
right,
And and that's interesting because like why write stories at all, right? It's really about I think it's really about sharing your lessons on life with whoever happens to read it. And if you get, if it becomes successful and more people read it, then great, more people get to experience that little lesson. But at the end of the day, in Nick's case, and I guess in yours too, it's more about leaving it for your kids. I've been a little more selfish. Like my motivation to start doing it was a little more selfish, but along the way, it's becoming a little bit more like, I can't wait for my kid, my oldest anyway, to read this, and eventually my youngest kid
right,
too, because they get excited with me about this story, and my longer vision goes beyond just Salvador, right? It's more about becoming Um, it's more about being an author full time and writing stories for a living, and because I got more in here. I got like a bunch of them, and they're like just kind of like waiting in line. Like when is it my turn? Um,
Right.
and it's it's like it's for them too, yes, but it's really more for the fact that I need to get them out, and
Right.
they're bugging me. Like I can't just teach English all day and then be like cool. Like they're like clawing their way out,
Right.
and that's more about like one time somebody asked, not me directly, but kind of posed the question of why do we write, and I raised my hand. I was like, because I have to. I can't not do it. I've kind of always
Right.
been doing it my whole life, but now that I'm focusing more on it professionally, especially in the last say 5 to 8 years, 5 to 7 years that I've um, dedicated more of my time to really learning the craft. It's become more and more of an obsession as I move forward. So it's great that they can also get inspired by it,
Right.
um, and I hope they do, because that's why I do it, because other stories have inspired me. And
Right.
I made a post on X a few days ago that it was on Star Wars Day on a couple like
Yeah.
4 days ago, and I said like the reason I'm a storyteller at all is because of stories like, for example, Star Trek. You know it was what Star Trek taught me. Like if I distilled it as much as I could, it's about what Star Trek taught me, and the way that Star Wars can really make my heart sing. And like that wording I got from an article I read somewhere online, someplace, and I remembered
Right.
the very first trailer for The Force Awakens before it actually came out. It was still an okay movie, but before it came out, like the very first teaser trailer, it was just like BB-8 rolling by, and then like a lightsaber, and then like the very end. I'm always tell this story, and I'm always gonna remember it. It's been 10 years. I'm always gonna remember it. The way like at the very end, the black screen, and I don't even remember what the line was, but then suddenly the music just blasts out of the speakers, and you see the Millennium Falcon flying, and it made me so happy, and I'm getting
Right.
goosebumps right now thinking about it. It made me so happy, and I literally jumped for joy when I saw that. And I was not like sitting at home like listening. I was I when it came out, I learned it came out on the way to do a recording. I do voiceover work, so
Okay.
I was going to a
Right.
studio to record, and the editor was it was it's kind of it's a professional relationship, but we still chat about we can talk chat about Star Wars and stuff. Like, he's kind of a fan too.
Right.
So I was like, dude. So I got in. I was like, dude, before we do anything, we got to check out. The
Right.
trailer just dropped, man. We got to check it out. And then we saw like he's got like a big screen and big speakers because it's a recording studio, and
Right.
it blasted
Boom.
through his speakers, and it made me so happy. And then later on, when I read that article, things about like stories or whatever it was that like makes your heart that phrasing, it makes your heart sing. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. So now that's what I want to do. I want to make somebody else's heart sing like that. I want to teach other people through stories the way like the way I see the world is it was really shaped by all those episodes of not just Star Trek obviously, but the stories come from like the story that I sometimes tell is usually comes from some Star Trek episode that makes you think twice. It's like, it's not
Right.
just this. We got to think deeper about this. So that's why I really do it. And if I teach my kids that, and I do that to my kids along with the ride, and they're coming along for the ride, then it's even more so. It's even better. But it starts out really selfishly. Like, I need to do it. I can't not do it. If I didn't have kids, I'd still be doing it.
Right. No, but that's awesome because a lot of dads don't even do their own thing. They're so focused on I have to provide, I have to get this ready, I have to take care of that, that they forget about themselves. And something that I say quite a bit is that in essence, the dad is the most important person in a way, and not in a selfish way at all. It's actually the least selfish way because to show up at your best with the most energy that you can give, to be able to help and to lead your family, you have to be fulfilled. If you're an empty shell of a person and you walk around and you're just depressed and you're unhappy because you're not chasing the own thing, the things that excite you, you're just showing up to your job, you're coming home to take care of the family, trying to give them, you're burning a candle out, but you're never giving it more fuel to burn with. So that's
Yeah.
a disservice as a dad to not chase those things, to not spend that time. Now, I'm not saying that everyone has hours to spend, but even little bits here and there. Like when we started talking about storytelling initially and we had that conversation, my mind was blown and I started looking at everything differently. So I wasn't able to even put together this little AI book that I put together right away, but I started little by little. And it was exciting because once you start understanding the storytelling and you feel that power,
Yeah.
it totally changes things.
You start seeing
And
it in other stories too. Like you start watching a movie, you're like,
right,
that's the inciting incident. Oh, there's the lovers breakup moment. Oh, okay, no, he's about to. Oh, yeah, that's the. We were watching Bridgerton yesterday. I was like, oh yeah, that's like the first kiss. That's like the first kiss that's in every single love story. And
right,
and and I was like, so and I told my wife like, wait for the moment. Like a couple episodes later, they're gonna break up.
right.
I was like, and I think she was no, she was
Spoiler.
rewatching. Yeah, no, no, no. I should. She's actually rewatching. I just remembered the exact conversation. I was like, yeah, oh yeah, that, like later on when he finds out she's actually Lady Whistledown. I don't know if you've seen this before. Like when he finds out she's Lady Whistledown, because as soon as they kissed, she was like, yeah, but wait till he finds out that she's actually the one who's been writing that crap about him. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to be the lovers breakup moment. I was so matter of fact that yeah, obviously that's
Right,
because there has to be a moment where they break up. So it makes
right,
you see like it does, like sometimes people say it's kind of like finding out how the sausage is made, but I think it's
right.
actually pretty cool because it makes you see. I don't know, like when you see a really bad movie, it's
Yeah,
inspiring to me because I'm like, if that crap got made, not Bridgerton is actually pretty good, but like when I see like a bad movie, and I talk to my friend, the one that I co-wrote the other book with, sometimes I talk about
yeah.
him. When we see like a really bad movie, we're like, yeah, it's so bad. And I'm like, and how did that crap get made? Like, I can write better crap than that. I could, and that got made just because that writer was in the right place at the right time. So it's just a matter of getting us into like better places and better times and just keep
Right.
doing it until you get an opportunity because I can write like, and my friend always goes like he always tells me about how he would have written episode 1 of Star Wars, and I hear him talk about this. I'm like, yeah, that is much better. I mean, I know everybody has this opinion, like how I would have done it, but like when you start to focus more on like on storytelling and you start learning more this like the craft itself, you do
Right.
start to see how other people's work can be improved because now, right? It's like a doctor, who sees somebody's like surgery scar somewhere, like, oh no, I would have done a different knot on that. Like I would have done this. This
Right.
is so such and such a stitch. Like I
Right.
don't know why this doctor did this. Like, did they do that? Did they do the thing with the thing? And you're like, no. Oh, geez, I would. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like a layman would be like, oh, you got an operation, cool. You just
Right.
assume that because they're a doctor, they must have known what they were doing. But another doc will be like,
Right.
"Oh, I wouldn't have done that. I would have done this. Like, this would have been much better for you."
That's when you start getting concerned. Like, uh-oh, what did I do?
Like, yeah, I'll go. That's why it's so important to get a second opinion because like
Right.
doctors are people too, and they can make mistakes.
Right.
And Hollywood directors, like just because a movie is out, just doesn't mean that they're like that screenwriter was a perfect writer. Just because that
Right.
movie got made. Mm-mm. And what was the movie that I saw the other day? A series where like we got to this moment and like we're watching it with our kids and that specific Avengers. God, it's not a bad movie. It's great. I love it. But there are these couple of moments. God, I don't want to get canceled. There's one specific moment in Infinity War and one specific moment in Endgame. It's very clear. It's very specific and it sticks out like a mole because it's not properly done. And like when it came out, that moment comes up, like I just turned to my wife and like I like tap her because we don't want to interrupt because I like look at her, I'm like, eh. She's like, yeah. When you have that moment of the of the women coming together, and they're like, she's not alone, and like, and like all the and all the women come in, and it's this really big, heroic music, and like, Pepper flies in, and then like Wakanda, like all the Avenger women come in. I'm like, where were they 10 seconds ago? Like, what? It's a massive battlefield. What? They all just magically suddenly converged right at that moment. They were like, it was not believable, and not unbelievable in a good way. Like, it was not, like, my suspense of disbelief just fell to the ground right there. And
Right.
also, like, storytelling wise, like, you have to build that up. You have to foreshadow it. It has to
Right.
become a thing. Like, they could have done that really well. They could have made it a subplot where, where the women are always being, I don't know, like, set it up at the beginning,
Right.
and then build them up as women, where, like, where they, they come together, maybe have like a little fight, just like a love story, like, that they start to build something up, and then they have a conflict, they fight amongst each other, like, and then they resolve it, and they come
Okay.
together, and then you have the moment during the
Right.
battle, like, she's not alone, and then you go, yes, and they
Right.
fly together, they come in, and they're all like fight for each other. But it was like Captain Marvel, who can fly, like, she can like fly straight through Thanos' ship and tear it apart. Right after she does that, Peter Parker's like, "Oh, how are you going to get through all those guys?" I'm like, "What do you mean how she's going to get? Weren't you watching 10 seconds ago? Like, she's one step away from being God. She can just rip
Right.
through a ship at will. Come on, come on." And then the girl's like, "She's not alone." I'm like, "Oh, it was bad. It was bad storytelling. It was bad story, and it but it, like, in a way, it inspires me, because I'm like, like, if I'd been in a writer's room, like, if I'd known the right people living in Hollywood, like, I'd have been right there, and been like, no, dude, guys, we got to. But I imagine it's also because it's part of a big machine, lots of people working on
Right.
it, and the executive, whatever. It's I'm rambling now, but it all to say that, like, I see plot holes more as, like, I could have, I feel more capable of saying, I could have done this better, so it makes me
Right.
feel more confident when I sit down to write something, and
Right.
I go, no, I gotta do this before in the previous scene, so that this hits harder, so that this is more meaningful. And I don't know, it's just confidence building, and it's been, building up, over the last few years, and it's um it's nice to be able to say stuff like that, like, I'd have done it this way, and someone
Right.
hears me, and they're like, yeah, that would have been, yeah, you're right, that would have been so much better.
I'm
Rant
just
over.
thinking you should give like short classes to dads how to tell exciting bedtime stories series. Like, give them like
Yeah.
a brief framework, examples, how to come up with a storyline. Because if you're sitting there reading a book to your kid, it's not the same as telling them a story. And I know that in the past that I've done it with my kids, and reading a book is one thing, but they're more excited if I make up a story. And it's not always so easy. But if like there's a framework to it and there's a way to be able to tell the story, as you very well know, storytelling is builds a connection. Get into the story, you feel it. You're like you're almost like emotionally attached to it. What's going on over here, the highs, the lows, and just to be able to capture that as a dad without putting a lot of time into something, that could be really cool.
Yeah, it would be the only thing is, like, as soon as you said, when your kids ask you to tell them a story, I I may have developed a great skill at sitting down and putting together something that's exciting, but
Yeah.
if you ask me to make up a story on the spot,
Hmm.
that's a different story. That I don't know if I have that skill yet. Uh, it's, it's funny because my kids have never really done that classic "tell me a story," and they get to kind of
Right.
like sit there and make something up on the spot. Um,
Right.
we've always read to them, uh, just like different stories, right? And
Yeah.
because of my acting background, my improv and theater background, I've been able to really tell the stories that are in the books really well with like funny voices, and like,
Right.
having like high highs and then really low lows, and inflections and all that stuff. So I've been able to do that really well, but I I I still have to develop that skill of like making something up on the spot. Even though I've done improv, but
Right.
and I did it for years and way back in high school. But um, I don't know, telling a story on the spot, like a fictional story on the spot, that's different. But telling a story of something that happened to you in an interesting way, yeah, maybe
Maybe something like
knowing
that.
yeah, like knowing how to tell it is good.
Right.
You just got to know that it's not just like your plot mountain goes up and then down. You got to know
Right.
the
To understand the exactly. But to be able to build out that core understanding, and yeah, because like you're saying, even if you take a personal story and you just twist it up and you make it with some other person's name and some throw in some fake ideas, but to understand the whole way that it plays out, I mean, sometimes same idea. Sometimes an idea comes to me, I can tell out this whole long story on the spot, and other times it's like it's a quick thing. And yeah, I'll take an experience or something and just mix it up a little bit. But even like having like a little card of, okay, here's your 5 or 10 steps or whatever it is that you want to capture in your story with like some little hints of what it is, even if that's something that's used as instructions for a full blown story, but to be able to consolidate that a little bit and just to be able to understand what it takes to create a small series, that could be pretty awesome.
like with what kind of like with what you were doing with your books, right? You want to tell them little stories. Well, on with that, I think I could probably help more. Like especially because a lot of times when someone wants to write a story,
Yeah,
when you're a beginner, you don't see the little things, like not little, but like you don't see how important something like a crisis moment can be in the
right,
story, right? You're telling a love story. Everybody kind of intuits that there's a moment where they break up, right?
right,
It's in the song. There's this really old song, "The Book of Love," right? That song. If you hear that, if you, that song, there's chapter one, you tell her whatever. But there's a moment when they're in, what is it, in chapter four, you break up, but you give it just one more chance. That's like it follows a classic love
right.
story arc. But there are other smaller things that sometimes we don't really see. But when you start learning how to do it, you go, oh right, so that's what this is missing. That's what that's missing.
Right.
And it happens all the time. Like it's never, you don't graduate from story school. Like I recently from okay, so there's a character in Salvador that hasn't been introduced yet, who is going to help him along a little bit. And I like last month I read an email from the Story Grid podcast. The Tim Grawl sends out these emails. I'm subscribed forever, and talked about the love story arc that has to be present in every story. And then the title said even thrillers, and that's what made me go, So I went in and I started to read it, and I kind of scratched my head. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Even if there's a dynamic of two characters who are friends,
Right.
who become friends in the story, the subplot of their friendship has to follow those beats too. And I realized I gotta have when I started thinking about how I could plot out moments between Salvador and this other character's um, friendship. It was going to be just they meet, and she helps him, and then a thing happens at the end that I'm not going to tell you. Um, but then I thought, wait, what if they meet and they become friends, but there's like doubt, should I trust him? And then there's a disagreement and they get separated. They kind of have a fight for a while, and then something happens that they need to get together again. They come together again. And
Right.
like love story, the love story beats never like romance is only one type of love story beat. It's like one in a
Right.
bunch of those. Like, buddy cop movies are love stories too, you know? It's you have the same thing. They meet and they have like a moment
Right.
of like real friendship connection and then you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
I learned this last month and I was like, crap,
Interesting.
and it just leveled up my story. It leveled up the global Salvador story uh, majorly because it now when I look at like the big moments in that story, now it hits harder. Now it's more meaningful. Now their friendship is much more meaningful and
Very interesting.
you never it's cliche. You never stop learning. But things that are cliche like
Right.
that, they're cliche for a reason, because they're
Right.
right.
That's very cool.
I forget where I was going. I
Unfortunately,
have no idea where I was going with that. What my point
I
was.
do have to cut short over here because I got to step out for some work stuff.
Yeah, of
But
course.
before we close up, I I do want people to be able to follow you. I personally love storytelling now, even though I don't get to spend enough time on it. So where can people follow you in general? Where can they get updates on the excitement that you're putting together?
Okay,
Go for
well,
it.
if you wanna follow my um like my day-to-day kind of musings and posts and things, you can follow me on X. I'm Gonz Paoli at not at nothing at I'm at Gonz Paoli.
Hey,
And if you really like, if you want to know more about this like if anybody wants to know about this Salvador story that I'm doing, I'm releasing like the manga at the same time that I'm releasing, or actually I'm working on it at the same time as I'm working on the prose version. Like imagine a chapter book basically, or
right.
I don't know if it's going to turn into a novella or a novel. I don't know yet, but chapter one is out today. Now it's been out. So and I'm working on chapter two. So if you want to follow that, you can follow me on Substack. It's also Gonz Paoli. It's Gonz Paoli. I don't know if you have show notes.
Yeah, I'll
Gonz.
throw it into the notes so everyone
Yeah,
can find it.
great. Paoli dot Substack dot
Whatever
slash
that
subscribe or
string
whatever it
is.
is. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, any last thoughts on anything that's been powerful with you for as far as being a dad goes?
Well, I mean, the thing that I've kind of come to learn these last couple of years, uh, in being a dad and doing my writing thing is that it echoes what you said at the very beginning, and this is good storytelling because your inciting incident has to always mirror the climax, right? The thing that I learned is that just like you said, being a dad is one of the most important things that we can do, but doing the thing that's not being a dad, that's not your day job, unless you like one of those lucky few whose day job is the thing. Um, you have to do that thing too, because not only is it going to be more fulfilling for you, you're going to be happier for it and more content in the fact that you're doing it, but also you're also setting an example for your kids, where
Love
you
that.
do the important thing, but you also do the thing that you want to do because you like to do it, because
Right.
you matter too. It's not about just sacrificing yourself completely for your family, and then who cares about you. You matter too, so do it. And sometimes it's just like collecting old like DVDs, or like like vinyl
Right.
record, whatever it is, like having a little thing, making like puppets. I don't know, like anything, any kind of like creative endeavor. Do it because you like it, and if you think you don't have time, it's not about having more time. It's about finding more time. Yeah, like you should be a little bit of a priority in that whole day of day job and kids and running to different places and everything you have to do. So like your interests matter too, and by deciding that your interests matter too, you're teaching them that, because they see me drawing. They know I teach classes, but they see me drawing sometimes. They're like, "How's your manga coming along?
Right.
How's your story coming along?" And I think that that is like that example is important for them too.
100%. I love that. That's a great way to end off. So thank you for
Storytelling,
tuning
baby.
in. Gons, thank you so much. I'm very excited for this.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I'm honored
I wish
to
we could go
be
longer because
here.
I feel like we could go for hours on this.
Maybe we could wait. I'd be, I'd be open to doing a part two if you want
Sounds good.
down the road.
Definitely. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going
Thanks,
to
man.
sign out over here. So thank you everyone for tuning in once again, spending your time with us today, and we'll see you on the next episode.